Good morning, Twin Cities. Welcome to your Sunday and welcome to Reckoning with Real Estate, a show about the American dream and building a better real estate company. I'm Paige Kale with the Real Estate Collaborative, and I am here with Mark Byers, also with the Real Estate Collaborative. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Good
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. What was going to be a two-part series has become a three-part
Of
series.
course, as it
Yeah,
always
because
does.
there's always so much. We're always start the show thinking, "Oh my God, are we going to be able to fill the 30 minutes?"
Yeah.
And then it just keeps going and going. So we are doing a three-part series on why consumers hate agents, hate real estate agents. The title of the article by Wendy Gilch is "Why Do Consumers Have a Hatred Toward Real Estate Agents?" It's going to be in a link in the program notes. Housing Rebels, that's Wendy's consumer-oriented online platform. You can find her at sellinglater.com. And just to be clear, it's for real estate agents. It's also for real estate professionals like lenders. It's for consumers too. So anybody listening that is a consumer of real estate looking to buy or sell in the next year or two, I would highly recommend going to Wendy's website. It is a wealth of information, so much information about the real estate industry. And as the name suggests, Housing Rebels, it's really about kind of breaking down the system and saying the system is broken. Or some people would argue the real estate industry works the way it was intended to work. And that's for the people at the top. And the consumers are kind of the bottom of the rung. And this article does, just as a reminder to people, if you've listened to the first two episodes, really does a great job of it's about talking about the systemic changes that need to happen. It's not meant to attack personal, individual agents, because we are all kind of here doing the best we can in this really kind of messed up system. So Wendy lays out 6 different reasons that consumers hate real estate agents. And we've gone through the first 4 in the prior episodes. And now we are on number 5 and 6. Mark, do you want to take it away with number 5? Because I'm lost in my
Sure.
paper.
Reason,
there it is.
yeah, reason number 5. The system was built to protect producers, not consumers, and everyone is finally noticing.
Mhm.
Which is, I think, the basis of we've talked about this before, why rec exists, right?
Mhm.
People are noticing, and we've noticed, and we're trying to make a consumer centric, human centric
Mhm.
real estate company, and
Mhm.
just reimagine how everything can be different,
Mhm.
how we can work through the challenges that come into all of this.
Yep.
Some very real, system side, very large scale, and some just very pragmatic in the way that we do things and how technology is helping and hurting and all of that sort of stuff. And we've talked through most of those in the last couple of episodes and
Mhm.
all of that. And I think she does a good job here of just talking about, which we talked about several episodes ago, is that most states require between 40 and 80 of courseworks, background checks, and just a multiple choice exam. There's no apprenticeship required. There's no minimum transaction volumes. There's no working with real buyers and real money on the line and real contracts to become licensed.
Mhm.
And I think for me that was the biggest kind of I knew that was coming, and
You knew what was
I
coming.
knew that all of the real stuff, the
Yeah.
contracts and working with buyers and working through the obstacles was coming, but there was no prep work for any of it. And
Yeah, because in the state of Minnesota, we have to have 90 hours
mhm,
of online coursework that, to your point, is
yeah,
somewhat not related to, in some ways, what we do on the ground. I mean, it's what's obtuse? It's like
yeah,
very specific what were you mentioning before the show? You were mentioning the
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of different stuff about capitalization of
yeah, that's what you were
resources and, kind of breaking down what a fourplex or, would be, and then, kind of depreciating those assets and,
right.
kind of, which is very, practical
Relevant.
stuff
Yeah, if you're doing investment,
from an
working with them
investment
right.
standpoint, but most people aren't getting there straight out of the gate, from their
Right.
license. They're not really working on that sort of stuff. That's very high level, lots of experience and
Mhm.
everything, which I think she mentioned right here, which I think is very interesting as we're talking about a newly licensed person, right, who doesn't have any of that experience. And the NAR settlement is what she mentioned here. It kind of forced that out in the open because buyers now have to sign a representation agreement specifying what their agent will be paid before they can even tour a home. For the
Mhm.
most part,
Mhm.
that's
That
they're
was one of
seeing
the
that.
big changes. Yep.
So millions of buyers are actually seeing that number is
Seeing the
transparent, the
percentage.
percentage, right? Number that's out there. And if they can do the math or use the tools, they will get to what that's going to be. But sometimes they're sitting on the other side of a newly licensed, sometimes barely available, clearly winging it agent and saying, and she puts it here, is this fee matching what I'm getting?
Mhm.
And that's, I think, a huge thing that you would do. And you know as you're kind of as that's bringing forward, it's like, how do we as real estate companies address this issue, right? And I think a lot of it, and Taylor mentioned in her
I was just thinking of
thing
Taylor's,
about
yeah.
the training that you provide, and that we're just trying to provide for new agents to help through all of that before you even really get into that transaction.
Mhm. Yeah, because I think, having been at a big box broker for a number of years and then a smaller boutique brokerage, but there just isn't a lot of training for new agents. There's some, and it does vary, brokerage to brokerage, so I don't wanna paint this with a
Yeah.
broad stroke, but, um, often I mean, I know when I became licensed, I had to, like, ask for a mentor, ask for a
Mhm.
agent who had been doing it for a while to help us through our first few transactions. Um, but often, yeah, newer agents, especially if it's like an online brokerage that's just, I can't think of any of well, I can think of a few of the names, but anyway, you're just kind of set free.
Mm.
Like, okay, go find clients, go find a buyer and seller, and yeah, and so we're working really hard to have the checklists, which are about to, like, drive me mad, and I know Ashley, your wife, feels the same way. His wife is helping me with them because she's highly organized and very, very skilled at kind of process things. So, um, but yeah, I want we're just trying to develop a process that works for everyone and most importantly, works for our clients.
Yeah, and then we've in all of that, so much of it is to make it consumer centric, to be transparent, right? And
Mhm.
that's,
Mhm.
as you were saying one or two episodes, how many weeks ago it was, how it's a difficult thing to try to come up with a flat fee.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
so we're
it is.
still honing that process. We've had to develop an internal tool to help
Yep,
us use all of that, compare numbers. There's a lot of math involved and a lot
yep,
of stuff that Paige hates. And
yep,
we
yep.
work
Well,
through
and to
all of
be
that. And
clear, everyone, I love numbers, just the numbers with dollar signs in front of them. I'm like, "Ah!"
and percentages.
And percentages, oh, I do not
She
like
doesn't like
percentages at all.
percentages.
Yeah, so all of our numbers have dollar signs in front of them and not percentages. So when you
Right.
sign a contract, you know what you're gonna pay
Yeah.
at the end of the day, and it's not gonna change when you're going through the negotiations and the price of the house changes, and you just don't have to do a lot of maths. I like calling it maths because I like to pretend I'm British, which I am not.
Nice. Yeah.
um, and along those lines too, because we're doing things so differently at rec, we're not referring to ourselves as realtors anymore, and this is a change that came about maybe 2 or 3 months ago, so we're still kind of getting used to it, but we call ourselves rec agents
Yeah.
because our system is really different. um, And the system, going back to reason number 5 that you read earlier, the system was built to protect producers, not consumers. So kind of to protect the corporate entities, to protect the associations so that they're making their money first. And it's always been so crazy to me that, in Minnesota, it's different state by state, but the percentages, back pre-settlement, pre-lawsuit, so pre-August 2024, and it's still continuing now, but whether it was Edina Realty or Coldwell Banker or, Remax or Compass, they're all charging the same amount or relatively the same amount, whether it's a new agent, whether it's an experienced agent. It's the same percentage that you're given your marching orders and said, set free in the world and say, go find a buyer, go find a seller.
Mhm.
Here's what you charge them.
Right.
And they're all selling the same thing. Like in what other industry I mean, same thing, same price. How do you differentiate yourself?
Yeah.
It's really hard as a new agent if you're with one of the big brokerages. So that's why, and I don't know, maybe that's why you joined. One of the reasons you joined REC is because we're selling something different.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm always a strategy person. I love
Yeah.
just thinking through challenges and problem solving and all of that sort of stuff. And that was my biggest issue for a long time was I don't really want to fall into the wear a suit and get a car and chase a bunch of that around and try
Mhm.
to work through all of that because it's all the same versus whether you go to Malibu or on the street
The
from
Malibu realtors,
one of
those
those others,
Malibu
right?
realtors.
And so Taylor just happened to be we just happened to meet Taylor and she was like, "Let me tell you about how things are different and how we're changing and all of that." And so, since we talked, I was like, "Yeah, I can feel that on the consumer side, being not taken advantage of isn't the right term. It's just being in the dark about a lot of this sort of stuff. Like we
Mhm.
mentioned multiple episodes ago, I do feel like most agents are trying to do the best for their
Yes.
clients. The system is
Absolutely.
just set up to make it hard for them to do that.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I mean, I work with wonderful agents on the other side all the time,
Mhm.
but so much of this they're in the middle of too, and they're
Yeah.
just trying to make work through all of the pain of all of this as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that is a good place to end for the break. We're gonna take a 2 or 3-minute break. You're gonna hear from our sponsors, and then we're gonna come back on the other side and pick it back up, and you're listening to Reckoning with Real Estate, and you can find us at therecolab.com. We will see you in a couple minutes.
Ooh, wrecking ball, you steal the show. Every move you make.
Welcome back to Reckoning with Real Estate. We're going to dive right in. We were talking about how REC does things differently from traditional agents and big box brokerages. We do almost everything differently,
Mhm.
it seems like. But it does. Mark, you were mentioning, working with some really great agents on the other side of the transaction, and yeah, certainly that is very true. And sometimes there aren't there are agents that aren't great on the other side of the transaction. But one thing that I'm always struck by is when we put that, the flat dollar amount in the purchase agreement or whatever, or talk about it with other agents, they get confused
Yeah.
because the industry has always relied on percentages, except for a few like discount brokerages that would charge kind of this flat fee for everything. And those places still exist, although Doug Miller has an interesting perspective on that. But anyway, they still exist, but not as many of them. Because of some lawsuits. But anyway, that the National Association of Realtors brought. Now I'm going down a rabbit hole. I'm coming back, bringing it
All
back.
right, bring it back.
Um, but and we are not a discount brokerage, but I guarantee you when the agents see that flat dollar amount, they think we are a discount
Mhm.
brokerage because the industry has all sorts of scripts And they will tell, and I heard this with Edina Realty, that, if it's a flat dollar amount, they are a discount brokerage. And
Mhm.
that still exists today, 5, 10, 15 years later. It's just kind of a mantra in the
Yeah,
tradition. Oh, I was supposed to say it's traditional agent,
right. There you go.
traditional agent realm. So,
Yeah. And I mean, we've got the model with a retainer option as well, and I feel like that's totally different than anything that I've been part of before, and I think that all so many of our clients love that model.
yeah,
It's we've both got skin in the game.
yeah.
There's a reason for both sides. Nobody's trying to take advantage of the other or try
Right,
to
we're
do
not trying to push the deal through because we wanna get compensated because we get a retainer up front, but we have options. We have no retainer options too, so
Yeah, yeah, and I think they really like the idea of, oh, if I'm got a flat fee amount and I've already paid some retainer, I'll just pay the fee
Mhm,
outside of the transaction. Because ultimately, when they're putting it in the transaction,
mhm.
are they not putting it in their mortgage?
Right, they are putting it in there if they're getting a mortgage and they are paying, like you're talking about the buyer,
Hmm.
if they're getting a mortgage and they ask the seller to pay for their representation, which the traditional agents are going to charge 2.7%. And I'm not speaking out of turn because we have seen it for the past 2 years post settlement. The majority of buyers agents are still asking for that 2.7%. And if buyers are asking the sellers to pay that, it's being rolled into their mortgage. So they're paying that 2.7% off
Hmm.
over 30 years with interest.
Yeah, you have that great sheet that you send out that shows how much
Mhm.
the 2.7% fee actually is
Mhm.
if they pay it over 30 years.
Mhm.
And it'll pretty much floor anybody who
Yep.
sees it.
Yep. Yep. It becomes a lot a lot more than 2.7%.
Yes.
Whether that's 10,000, 20,000, it can easily become 40, 50, 60,000 with a 30-year mortgage.
Right.
And that is something, and I've been talking with buyers about that for, I don't know, probably 10 years.
Mm.
And I think most agents don't. And maybe not even because they're aware. I think they just don't think about it because we're not w th in the big box brokers, they don't talk about that,
Hmm.
because it's just the kind of standard operating procedure. It's how things have always been done. You
Yeah.
hear that a lot in our industry. "Well, this is how it's always been done." And that's like red flag number 1 that maybe it shouldn't be done that way if that's the reasoning.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and if they're on that note, I want to get to this point
yeah.
because I know as I was reading it and asking you about it, reason number 6 is now they're seeing the number and then they are being asked for $700 more. So tell us about that.
Oh, the $700 more or the $500 more or the $1,100 more.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's the broker admin commission. And every place I've ever worked has charged it. It's not optional. If the client doesn't pay for it, then the agent has to pay for it. And so if you're working with an agent and they're charging you, 3% to sell or buy your home, they're often gonna charge an additional broker admin fee on top of that.
Mm.
And when I was with the big box broker, it was always a really hard fee to explain to people, like, "We're charging you thousands upon thousands of dollars. Oh, and then we also want $700 on top of it."
Mhm.
Like, it just seemed like, why aren't we just baking all of our costs into one fee? And so at REC, I mean, that was pretty much the first thing I probably decided, like, we're not charging that fee. And no agent that I know, because I know a ton of agents, nobody likes explaining that fee to their client.
Yeah.
And my understanding is sometimes consumers don't even know until they get to I think you
Mhm.
were alluding to this, until they get to the closing table. They see that extra fee, and in my mind, it is a junk fee. It just is, and it's
Mhm.
a way to increase the profitability of the people at the top and the brokerage. We were trained to say our script was we have to hold on to documents and records for 7 years. So it's like
Mhm.
like we had a storage space somewhere with all this paperwork, which we clearly didn't. Everything's, well, now online. So yeah, that's an ugly one, a really, really, really ugly one.
Yeah, and she talks about it here about how it's not regulated, it's not standardized. You know, even though they use it all the same way, there's just basically, as they're recruiting agents, trying to come up with, as she mentioned, better splits, keeping 100% of their commission to get
Mhm.
them in there. They're just having to try to figure out a way to get paid on the brokerage side. And
Mhm.
so instead of making that as part of their percentage, which we already talked about, how much their fees have gone up
Mhm.
compared to
Yeah.
other ever places because of the home prices increase, that how does it not bake into the 78,000 that we keep going back to,
Right,
right?
right. We're charging you $78,700.
Yeah, just to make sure we get a profit.
Yeah, yeah. It is kind of crazy. And I think it is a really, to use Megan's words, stark example of what's wrong with the industry and how, even like smaller brokerages will charge that. And they charge it because they can, because everybody else is doing it. So I'm going to do it too.
Hmm.
It's like the way of American capitalism. And yeah, I just feel really grateful that I never have to explain that fee again to anybody.
Yeah. And I think she does a great job here at the very, very end of it. By it's talking about the anger, I think, that she's mentioning in the very last few paragraphs from the
Mhm,
consumer, that it's
mhm,
not about the realtor, it's just about the structure that we inherited
mhm.
and having to operate inside of it, that they're mad about, that they're frustrated
Yeah, she
with.
refers to it, and Megan liked this point, the structural disappointment.
Yeah.
It's structurally very disappointing.
Yeah. And on this side, it's just pointing to have to be in part of it as well.
Yeah.
And so, and I love the way she says you have the choice to defend it or evolve past it.
Yeah. I think there's yeah.
And I think that's what we're trying to do, is
Yeah.
evolve past it, both for us, but also for our consumers. And I think the more consumers that know it, the more they can evolve past it.
I agree, I agree. I remember back in August 2024 when the settlement came down against NAR, the National Association of Realtors, and against a lot of the bigger brokerages in the country. And, it's $1 billion or $500 million.
Mm.
It's a big amount of money that they're having to pay. And I remember being on a call with our state association because, of course, everybody's panicking. And what does this mean? And what do you mean we can't, put the buyer broker payout of 2.7% on the MLS anymore? Why can't we do that? So the state association had a webinar, and I just remember, when that case settled and I was on the side of consumers, I was like, yes,
Mhm.
go. Like,
Mhm.
this makes so much sense that, NAR is finally being held to account. The bigger brokerages
Right.
are finally being held to account. And the entire conversation was about why this is wrong. And, NAR didn't do anything wrong. And, kind of like, I don't know that they said this, but it turns out afterwards there were workarounds that people figured out.
Mhm.
And after that, I can't tell you how many people I talked to in the industry, like mortgage people. Oh, it's just business as usual. Nothing's changing.
Right. Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean nothing's changing?
Yeah.
Like, everything needs to change.
Yeah, totally. And who's the one that's still suffering through all of that?
The
Both the consumers and the agents.
And the agents. Yeah, and the agents. So I agree. I love that point of this is an opportunity.
Mhm.
I did see the settlement as an opportunity for us to look ourselves in the mirror and say, okay, the consumers have spoken
Right.
and they've been kind of yelling at us for as long as I've been a real estate agent. And it is an opportunity for the industry to kind of do some things differently. And to be fair, there are a lot of voices on like LinkedIn and agents and attorneys and consumer protection. There's a lot that is changing. It's just really slow to change in an industry that is this large.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think change will come, but it might take a decade.
Yeah.
It might take longer. And certainly there are going to be the big players that are making tons of money are going to drag their feet and just kick and scream throughout the whole process, which we're also seeing. If anybody's interested in like a visual food fight, like go to LinkedIn and follow. We have like a minute left. Steve Coleno, Bill Wendell, Rob Hahn, Summer Gorelick, Doug Miller, who is local Twin Cities lawyer, who's a consumer advocate in real estate, Nick Offenkamp, Brian Brown, Susan Kitchen, Fred Glick. Look up any of these people and you'll get connected with all the others. And it's a really interesting conversation. So if you're an agent or a consumer, it's really quite fascinating. Yeah. So thank you to Wendy Gilch for writing this amazing article about why do consumers have a hatred toward real estate agents. You can find it at sellinglater.com. And I am Paige Kale with Mark Byers of the Real Estate Collaborative. And you are listening to Reckoning with Real Estate. And we will be back next Sunday with another episode about reckoning with real estate.
Every swing you take, my heart in the fray. Crashing through these walls, you take my breath away. Oh, wrecking ball, you steal the show.